You're watching act.tv. I'm Julianna FORLANO. The Democratic Socialists of America has grown at lightning speed in recent years as Americans have become more and more fed up by massive inequality and a shrinking middle class. The DSA has become a major political force, so the candidates they run are sure to be strong competitors. Today, we are speaking to 5 members of the DSA slate. I'm just going to go one by one here, and then we'll do your official introductions. We have Farah Safrant. She is a candidate for New York State Assembly. We have Samalise Lopez, a candidate for U.S. Congress. Please correct me on your names. I've been trying all this. I just want to make sure I get these right.
Morning.
Good morning. Hi. I'm going to just quickly do all of your intros and then we're going to, it's a process, but I'm really glad you're all here. Excuse me. Zohran Kwame Mamdani is here, candidate for New York State Assembly. We have Marcela MITYNES. Did I get it? Is that right? Probably not. Well, I'll work on it. It's a candidate for New York State Assembly as well. And Jabari Briesport, candidate for New York State Senate, all members of the Democratic Socialists of America and proud to bear that name. Let's get some deep introductions into what the folks here are running for. But welcome everyone to the show.
Hi.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for having us.
I am thrilled. Okay, so Farah, am I pronouncing your name properly?
It's Farah.
Yeah. Oh, Farah. Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate it. Farah is a union nurse, tenant organizer, and lifelong Brooklynite, that's where I live, running to be the next assembly member for New York's 57th Assembly District, a lifelong Crown Heights resident and the daughter of Haitian immigrants. Farah decided to run after she was arrested in Albany protesting for strong rent laws with the Housing Justice for All Coalition in 2019. Now, in the middle of the worst pandemic in 100 years, Farah is running to bring a nurse's voice to Albany. God, I hope you win. I want to move over there and vote for you. And then oh, that would be wonderful. Going to be doing a fight for single-payer health care, a Green New Deal for New York, and universal rent control. Farah Safrant, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Running for Congress in New York's 15 is Samalise Lopez, a community organizer. Samalise, am I getting the name right?
Yeah, pretty good.
Thank you. I'm so glad. I'm trying. You work with grassroots groups to turn their activism into electoral power. You're born in Puerto Rico, raised in the South Bronx by a Dominican mother. Samalise grew up in New York City in a family shelter system and faced many challenges her Bronx neighbors also experience: housing scarcity, domestic violence, food insecurity, economic anxiety, underfunded public schools, and the indignities of the welfare system. Samalise, this is wonderful. I mean, I know it's been difficult, but you are exactly the kind of candidate that all democracies should be based on. Samalise has dedicated her professional life to affordable housing. The fight for affordable housing, where she helped build homes in some of New York City's most underserved communities, including her home borough of the Bronx. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
Zohran Kwame Mamdani. Did I get that one right?
Almost.
How do we pronounce it?
So it's Zohran Kwame Mamdani.
Mamdani. Okay. Zohran, you were born and raised in Kampala, Uganda, and grew up in New York City after your family moved here when you were just 7 years old. You graduated from Bronx Science, good school, and now you work as a housing counselor, helping immigrant families facing eviction stay in their homes, the ones they worked their whole lives to earn. He is running for state assembly because you believe it's time to guarantee housing to all New Yorkers as a right, regardless of the ability to pay. It is time to desegregate our schools, fully eliminate cash bail, ban solitary confinement, fund and fix the MTA. That's a lot to do. Good. End workplace discrimination and fight for social, racial, economic, and environmental justice. for everybody. This is great. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
I hope none of you are running against each other because that would make me sad. I want you all to win. Okay. Okay, and next up, Marcela MITYNES. Why is yours the hardest one for me? I don't know. Marcela, did I get your last name wrong?
The letters look like they don't belong together. It's Marcela MITYNES.
Oh, that's so much better. Marcela MITYNES. Okay, thank you for correcting me. And hopefully someone will edit out all my bloopers when we're doing this, but probably not. Marcela has worked across New York State from Sunset Park, right down the street from right here, to Albany, building coalitions and bringing the power of knowledge and collective action to tenants throughout New York. Marcela migrated to New York City from Peru as a child with her family and was raised in Sunset Park, Brooklyn, just right, it's like literally right through that wall. She was evicted from her rent-stabilized apartment of 30 years and began her life's work of empowering her neighbors to know their rights and find their voices to fight and stay in their homes. Welcome to the program, Marcela.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. And I haven't seen my comrades in such a long time, so it's great to see all of you guys too.
Hey.
I really need to start going to the meetings. I just do the media. Don't attend the meeting. Okay, so and our final guest, Jabari Breesport. Did I get it?
It's pronounced Michael B. Jordan. I'm kidding. No, that's right.
Like I'm Sam James.
That's correct. It's good.
That's terrific. Jabari's third generation Caribbean American from Prospect Heights. He is from this community of Prospect Heights, and he really knows the struggles there. He spent his life working with and for his neighbors as both an activist and an educator. Jabari's experience as a queer, Black, public school teacher, union member, and child of immigrants have shaped his drive to make his community and all New York communities more just and equitable. He wants to fight to provide a home for every New Yorker, to guarantee quality healthcare to all, and to empower workers. Jabari is ready to fight for his community in Albany. Welcome, Jabari.
Thanks for having me.
Well, welcome to everyone. This is and I'm just happy. One of the things that struck me about all of your resumes is the fact that you all kind of started working in housing justice. Where should we start to talk about what is going on in our city in terms of housing injustice, and why is this a giant, why is this, it's in everybody's resume. Farah, would you start with this? No, you can't hear me?
Yes, you can hear me now.
Okay, Farah, can you give an answer about why is it that housing is obviously the thing that gets everybody into running for office, it seems?
Yes, I can speak from my experience as both a lifelong tenant and also someone who is a tenant organizer, right? When you when you live in an area, it greatly determines the access that you have to whatever resources. I mean, it was something that we learned in nursing school. People live in food deserts. So if you see high rates of diabetes in a particular area, it's because they don't have access to food. And so housing, I mean, everyone can go on and talk about whatever they want to talk about in terms of housing, but from a nursing point of view, housing is healthcare and healthcare is housing. So the two are very important when we talk about the basic needs of the people. And so that's how I got into the fight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anyone else want to chime in regarding housing? It seems like it's on all of the resumes.
Yeah, I just want to add that, one of the problems is we have a society that prioritizes profits over people. And this is a good example of how housing has become commodified, and it really is bartered and traded to the highest bidder. But it's also something very basic and very necessary that we all should have a human basic right to have a home. Also understanding that housing is a foundation of life, and you can't build and you can't grow unless your foundation is solid. And it is very intersectional with health, with school, with employment. Yeah, and it's something that people are making money off of people being homeless and being in the shelter system, and that's something important to understand.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I think people don't understand that.
Yeah, so there's companies that run the shelter system, and so they get X amount of money for, you know, each person. We're hearing stories about it's costing the city something like $3,000 a month to house someone who's homeless. For that amount of money, we could just invest in housing and actually pay their rent and keep them in a home. But understanding that as long as people are going to be able to make money off of the homeless system, the shelter system that we have, it's going to continue to be an issue.
Samilise, I noticed that in your bio, you talked about having been homeless. What do you think? And that just and the other issues that you brought up there, saying that you've been touched yourself by those issues. How has that played out in your campaign? It seems to me that it would make me want to vote for you because you really understand what's going on from a personal level.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I credit the shelter system for saving my life because my mother was a domestic violence survivor. And that's where we ended up to escape what was going on at home. So because we went through that situation, the shelter system at that time in my life definitely gave me services, a place to eat, a roof over my head. And it saved us from a lot of instability that we were going through. Obviously, you know, I agree with what Marcela is saying as well, but, you know, for a lot of people, the shelter system is, you know, where they turn to. And unfortunately, you know, there is some profit that is basically made through the shelter system. So what we need to do is we need to increase the production of housing. Right now, we're fighting for a homes guarantee so we can fight for universal human right to housing in America so that we can eradicate homelessness. And what that homes guarantee platform is saying is that over the next 10 years, we're going to build 12 million units of housing, permanent, supportive, social housing. We're going to decommodify the housing production process. We're going to target speculative land practices that artificially increase the cost of rent. You know, we're going to make sure that tenants have more of a say in terms of the organizing and the production of housing through a National Tenant Bill of Rights. So what we need to do is drastically accelerate the production of housing because in the richest country in the world, there should be no people that had to face a shelter system like I once did, or live on the streets, or face the indignities of the welfare system. So this is what we need to do, and we need to shift our priorities as a country to make sure that we deal with that. Because in New York State, there's a lot of children that are still facing homelessness. And I know that when I was going through the system, I didn't get any of the support services that I needed to process what was going on in my life. You know, I was expected to still go to school, still get A's, still do my homework in spite of all the instability and trauma that, you know, I was going through and many other children that were in the shelter system. So now we're facing a situation with the coronavirus that like the kids don't even have like access to the laptops and the equipment that they need to do schooling from the shelter system. So it's definitely a crisis that we need to resolve. And the way to do it is by amping up the production of housing aggressively, but building housing not for profit, but for people.
I love where you're standing, by the way, Samilise. Talk about your what's behind you for a quick minute. The rest of us are in our kitchens and bathrooms, but you are.
Yeah, I was out and about, and then, you know, I was reminded that I, you know, had this interview today. And I was like, okay, let me just, you know, just do it like in the street. So I've just been, you know, street doing something different because we've all been at home. So it's a nice.
We've all also been in the street, so it's a good timing.
Yeah. So it's good timing. You know, I like seeing the energy here on the streets, and you know, just reminds me like of what I'm fighting for. You know what I mean? I'm fighting for the people, and right now, like I'm standing in front of a mural in a neighborhood. So that's where I'm at.
It's great. You picked a good spot.
Background.
Exactly.
Welcome to the Bronx.
Zohran, Zohran, you're all running from the Democratic Socialists of America. Is there an agreed upon platform that the DSA has that you look at what the DSA the values are and then see what is needed in your own community, or is it more bottom up for each candidate? Speaking from your own experience.
I think it's kind of a combination of the two things. We have, there are kind of party principles and priorities that are voted on at conventions, and those are things that are considered to be that are front and center in the endorsement process and the questionnaires that we all fill out. And so there's a general expectation that we're on the same page about quite a number of different political issues.
Like what?
I would say, if there was somebody who was seeking the DSA endorsement but wanted to take real estate money, those two things wouldn't really happen together. If there was somebody who wanted the DSA endorsement but believed that we really needed to keep cops in schools, these are the kinds of things. Some of these things have been voted on, some of them have not been voted on, but there's a general understanding as to what being a socialist candidate looks like. And the good thing is that the endorsement process is quite a long one, and it's one that includes a lot of moments and methods of accountability. So there will be times when a candidate is put to task about their lack of support about something that people are passionate about, or about the way that they feel if it's in conflict with socialist principles. I think that the reason I say it's a combination is because each of our campaigns also foreground what it is that we personally and professionally have been fighting for. So, for example, we have a general agreement on certain things. We also come out with policies that are slate-wide. So, earlier on in this race, the local state candidates in our slate, we came out with a set of policies regarding decarcerating New York, regarding the criminal justice system here. And we can come out on these kinds of things together because we have a shared socialist vision for this city and for this state. And that's also very exciting because very often running as a candidate, it's an inherently lonely task. And it's really lovely to have the people on this call be right there with you through thick and thin.
Jabari, can you talk about what it is that drew you to running for office in this moment? We're seeing a lot of people from DSA and coming out and running for office across the country, just proudly wearing the Democratic Socialists of America banner and mantle. I'm assuming Bernie Sanders had something to do with all this. Can you speak to that moment, to both personally and maybe what we're seeing across the country for candidates?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, of course. So speaking personally, again, I am a public school teacher, but like many of the candidates here, I'm frustrated with seeing my community kicked out and left behind by the current political establishment. So I know as a teacher, some things I can do for my students are buying them extra pencils and paper and pens and all that. But for example, if I lose a student halfway through the year because his family got evicted and had to move out to Long Island, I can't really help that as a public school teacher. Or just last week when one of my 11-year-old sixth graders said that they're worried about when school starts again, that a cop might stop them on the subway and accuse them of having a gun. That's not something I can fix as a teacher, but as a politician, I can enact laws that protect students and protect the community better. I know all of us running on this slate are looking to put our community better. And across the country, I mean, Bernie Sanders has inspired people to stand up against a political establishment that is, a little bit ossified, not as in touch with its communities, not fighting for progressive values as much as it should. And you're seeing a wave of candidates that are fighting for that message.
I think this is very exciting. It really helps people know especially given the fact that the Democratic Party has so many different types. There's your corporate Democrats, there's your New Way Democrats, which is corporate Democrats. There's all these different Democrats. And once you just put DSA, we kind of know what team you're on, what you're fighting for and what you'll be fighting for. I find it very handy personally.
Yeah, I'll also just plug, if you go to the New York City DSA website, socialist.nyc, you can see a shared policy platform that was voted on for the entire New York City slate. So you can see everything the socialists are fighting for right now.
And I'm just going to open it up because I know you are all wonderful people. So if you step on each other, you'll stop and everyone gets a turn because it's fine. Can we talk about about this moment that we are in. I hear people saying that all the time, and why this is the moment for a nice sweep of DSA candidates, especially here in New York State. We can start with you. Where are you? There you are. Farah, or Farah.
So I think that this is our moments. This is the people's moments, because it's very clear that once we organize, we get together, much can be accomplished. There's a specific reason why we all commit not to take any corporate or real estate money. And that's because we want it to be very clear that we are not beholden to any kind of capitalist or any kind of profit-making interest. And obviously that works. We just had a slew of the beginning of what we call police reform, right? And, there are a lot of people that would say that, these bills have been languishing and now they're passed, but they're passed specifically because people took to the streets. Mm-hmm. And so I think that this has just shown that people are demanding more from their politicians. They're demanding more from policymakers, because it's very clear that it's not just enough to work hard or even aspire to higher, but it's the idea that sometimes things need to be a guarantee and things need to be a human right. Housing is a human right. Healthcare is a human right. Economic justice is a human right. And it's not for us to just imagine it or talk about it. It's time to trust people to make it happen. And if they're not going to make it happen for us, we're going to make it happen for us ourselves.
Farah, you're a nurse. Who are you running against? And why would it be wonderful to have a nurse in office? I feel like I'm answering my own question here just by asking it, but talk about that.
Yes. So my incumbent's name is Walter T. Mosley III, and he's been an 8-year incumbent. He's been an 8-year incumbent, and during these past 8 years, we've just seen gentrification skyrocket. And I think that a lot of people might question, why a nurse? A nurse is a trained public advocate. From school, we learn, and actually this is what we do. We advocate for our patients. We work on the community level as well. And so we advocate for our communities, and we are actually trained to assess, plan, intervene, and evaluate. And so that way, whenever we are faced with a problem, whether it be medication or community lack of access to water, we are able to really get at the root of the problem and plan and develop an actual plan that will be effective. And so that's why I think my community now needs more than ever someone to actually be a public advocate.
Oh, and someone who, when you think a nurse, nobody goes into nursing for the cash. Not that it's not, a paid profession, whatever, but it's not like you were a real estate lawyer and then you decided. There's just a kind of a difference there. It's just refreshing to talk to candidates who have their hearts in the right place, and in the juxtaposition of the Trump and some of the other people that we have in politics now. I think it would just be a lovely, just such a better politics.
I wanted to quickly say that I think that we should honor directly impacted people in every step of the way, because it's really directly impacted people that have experienced homelessness firsthand, that have experienced a criminal injustice system firsthand, that have experienced hunger firsthand, the people that are suffering, that are going through the failures of the system and, the capitalistic system that we have that's oppressing us. Those are the people that we need to center in policy making and advocacy, unapologetically, always, and have the humility to listen to people that are going through those situations. So, for instance, the Homes Guarantee platform, that was something that was envisioned by formerly homeless people that are on the verge of being homeless, people that are facing a whole host of issues, that they got together to envision a bold housing policy platform that brings dignity to their life. And, you know, we need to basically look to directly impacted people to create policy, because policy is not something that should be done in an isolated ivory tower that's imposed on people from the top down. It should be from the ground up. It should be based on those values and those principles. So I think that political representation is that. It's not necessarily about being the smartest person in the room, the expert in the room. It's about being the person that brings people together, that has the humility to listen and to lead by listening, and basically make sure that people that are on the ground have a real seat at the policymaking table, so that we can focus on laws that better all of society, the most marginalized. Because when you do that, you create laws that benefit everybody in society. And coming from, you know, a community that's the fourth congressional district in the entire country, that's something that like is really relevant to me. And I always center my personal experiences and the experiences of my community in everything that I do. So I think that as a socialist movement, as a political movement, we always have to center that perspective, so that we can be informed as to what we need to be fighting for as a movement.
Elise, you have some, we've had one of the candidates who's running against you on our program quite a bit, Shavona Newsom from Black Lives Matter. It's unfortunate that there's a lot of two good candidates coming from your same district. I don't know what to say about that. It seems like the Bronx grows great candidates.
Yeah, you know, and I have a lot of respect for Mona. One of the things that I did with her is, before I entered my race, a month before, I met up with her, and I met up with her to give her respect as the only other woman of color that's grassroots in this race that's running, and to respect her leadership in the Black Lives Matter movement. So, you know, that's what I did. So, I mean, there's, you know, candidates that are running that are good candidates all across the country. And I'm honored to have the support of the Democratic Socialists of America. I'm honored to have the endorsement of Bernie Sanders. I'm honored to have the endorsement of Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the Working Families Party. And, you know, we have a lot of momentum in our race. You know, I have personally experienced the issues that my community has experienced. And in terms of criminal justice reform, you know, we came out strong with, you know, a policy that basically defunds and demilitarizes police departments across America and eliminates the Israeli exchange programs that basically militarize our police force. And we're advocating for consent decrees to be implemented all over the country at the federal level. So that's what we're doing. And, you know, there's a lot of amazing candidates running the country, but I'm focusing on our race. I'm focusing on winning this race. And we have, you know, a lot of momentum and people on the ground supporting us. And that's the goal.
Marcela, can you talk about why New York, snaps. Marcela, can you talk about why New York City, New York as a state has the opportunity to have, you know, as more DSA candidates or DSA endorsed candidates come on the slate and inevitably get elected, hopefully all of you, what role can New York State play as we go, you know, as we keep moving into these times? We have, you know, Cuomo's not a DSA candidate, right? So what can we do here? How can we push both on the state level and to have an impact nationally as we move forward?
I think we are seeing that just across the nation at the lower levels of government, people stepping up and really embracing the working class, really embracing the DSA values. It's something that we have in common, and it's just a belief that we are all equal. And I think that there's definitely opportunity with the uprising that we're seeing and the changes that are already starting to happen to really make fundamental changes to systems that are not really working for us, whether it's housing or it's in criminal justice, and really be a leader into what changes we can make. And I think it really does start with having politicians that have lived experiences that are bringing that to the table when they're making decisions that are impacting our families and our communities for generations. And I think that that's going to be the difference. And certainly New York can be a leader in that.
Absolutely. Jabari, your thoughts about how we can push from how we can push bottom up the leaders who are above us to be a little more, you know, DSA platform friendly.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing a great demonstration of how that's happening now, right? I mean, right now with the protests in the streets, it's funny. You asked about the moment we're living in right now, and it's a wild chimera, isn't it? Of the 1918 Spanish flu mixed with the Great Depression, mixed with the social upheaval of the 1960s, all rolled into one explosion of energy in our society. But no, it's incredible how quickly, for example, one demand of the movement being to defund the police, how quickly that became mainstream. That was something that was on the fringes of the movement for a very long time. And all of a sudden, with enough pressure from people in the streets demanding, making calls to the legislators, going to the legislators' offices, to their apartments, even to stage protests, we've been able to make radical demands and start getting a serious conversation about defunding the police. Let's start doing it now for homes guarantee, for a Green New Deal in New York, for healthcare for all people, for fully funded education. Let's start doing that. It's going to take people in the streets, a mass movement.
Zohran, you are obviously on the DSA platform as well, and the DSA is very strongly supporting the Green New Deal. Can you talk about what we can do from a state, in the state to forward the Green New Deal agenda, both here in New York and potentially push for a more national adoption of some of these policies?
Absolutely. I think sometimes when you think about issues as large as the climate crisis, it can feel quite overwhelming and frankly intimidating. And what's so exciting about local politics is that we can fight for solutions that are enactable and implementable at the levels that we are at. So for example, Astoria, which is the district in which I'm running, we are the top energy producing district in all of New York State. We produce about a quarter of all of New York City's energy. And almost all of that energy, more than 99% of it, is produced in dirty power plants. And so when we talk about what we can do, we can start at home. The first thing that we need to do is create something called public power. Right now, we have private utilities. We have Con Ed, we have National Grid. They have monopolies on the distribution of these utilities. And they also don't have any profit incentive to make that production through renewable energy sources. So what we need to do is make that both state-run and publicly and democratically controlled, and we need to have it be premised on 100% renewable energy. And so that's what we're really fighting for in terms of a large-scale New York State Green New Deal. One of the centerpieces is to enact public power, because by doing so, we increase the power of the public and we ensure that we will be on this earth for many years to come.
Well, what follow-up question? I've been a tree-hugging environmentalist for a long time, and do you think there is intersection and availability for intersection at this moment in time with the people in the streets protesting for justice? Because climate justice is such a racialized issue in the first place, impacting, different groups in obviously unequal ways. Can you talk about, is it a bad time to bring up the Green New Deal? Does it take away from the fights that we're having now, or can we still walk and chew gum at the same time?
I can answer that. So I'm running in the poorest congressional district in the country. We have the highest levels of asthma and respiratory illnesses in the country because of the ways that the highways that cut up our neighborhoods have polluted our air and our water because of the legacy, the racist housing legacy and planning legacy of people like Robert Moses. So we are definitely experiencing the brunt of environmental injustice. There's a very strong environmental justice movement here in the community, led by organizations like the Point CDC and other groups that have been fighting for decades to clean our air and our water. And I want to give some props to Congressman Jose Serrano, who's actually the most left-leaning members of Congress, who used his platform to take guidance from the environmental justice movement space to clean up the Bronx River, to clean up the Concrete Plant Park area, to really bring resources to figure out what we can do to improve our air quality here in the Bronx. And, that's really has been led by the environmental justice movement space in the community. So as passionate as I am about a Green New Deal, I think that, again, we need to focus directly impacted people and the local environmental justice community in communities like the South Bronx that has been there for decades, so that we can inform, what the implementation of a Green New Deal is going to look like. And that also has an economic development component too, because it has local hiring component, it has a reparations component for the community. So there's a lot of beautiful things that we can do with a Green New Deal. But we also, have to look to directly impacted communities to shape what that looks like on the ground, and look to them for implementation.
Farah, did you want to chime in?
It is a racial issue because Black and Brown communities, are suffering with high asthma and respiratory illnesses.
Farah, I saw you potentially talking. Did you want to jump in?
We're not only facing a health crisis, we're facing a climate crisis as well. I mean, when you think about even as late as the summer last year, we had blackouts, and that's because we didn't have a public power system that prioritized people rather than profits, because we saw blackouts in parts of East New York and Canarsie, but Wall Street got to keep their lights on. So when it comes down to climate change, the climate crisis, it's really now more than ever to make sure that as we transition to fossil-free infrastructure, but then also being mindful that there are vulnerable communities that need this now and not 40, 50 years from now.
I'm going to just open up the mic here because I want you each to be able to have the opportunity to say what you think, when you thought about coming on. And also, I'm just about to tell Alana, she's probably watching, she was the one communicating with you or your staff, that each of you needs to come on separately, if you don't mind, to talk about your own particular campaign, because each of you is so valuable to our movement here. And act.tv wants to, support the voices of people running from the DSA. So here we are. I want to give each of you time to say the thing that you would like an audience who is watching. We have a national audience watching, and it's on our Twitch channel. We have an international audience. Say the thing that you really want the people to know, both about your own campaign and about this particular moment. What's the message that you would like to get out? And we will start with Jabari, if you don't mind going first.
Of course. We have a chance in my district, the 25th Senate District, it's Central and West Brooklyn. We have a chance to elect someone who will fight to stem the bleeding of over 2,000 evictions a year in a neighborhood that's rapidly gentrifying, when evictions are a tool of gentrification. We can do that with a homes guarantee and good cause eviction. We have a chance to—
Wait, aren't all the people moving out now? Like, there's like white flight, rich flight. I think your problem is solved.
I know, right? Maybe we can all just move into the Upper East Side where all the white people fled from.
Until everybody's gone. Then they'll be begging you to pay $8 a month for
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Yeah, no, true. But the evictions and the gentrification are a serious thing in Central Brooklyn. And also, we have underfunded schools, and charter schools are really taking advantage of that, which are just exacerbating the problem by sucking away funding and physical space from our schools. So we have a chance to elect somebody who can actually fight for the people and for working class people, somebody who's part of a movement that is rising up, that is about working together in solidarity, that understands that our enemies are not each other. Our enemies are at the top. It's the 112 billionaires in this state that refuse to pay their fair share. It's the millionaire real estate lobby that dumps millions of dollars into political campaigns in New York to corrupt the political process. We have a chance to stand together and rise above that. And we can elect a public school teacher, and we need more teachers in office.
Absolutely. We're just going to go around the circle here. So Zohran, you're next.
Yeah, I would say that the thing that I would want to remind people is of their own power. This is a moment where we have seen the political will completely change here in New York State and across this country with regards to the appetite for reconsidering how policing should work in our society. And oftentimes it's easy to feel like that potential doesn't exist, that we don't have the power to change the minds of legislators and of the larger society. And I think that what these past few weeks have shown is that we have power, and our power comes from being part of a collective. And in our race right here, we are offering the first challenge in 10 years to an incumbent who has never been primaried before. And we are in the district's first competitive challenge in 22 years. And all of this is to say that it's the first time for so long that people have a chance to have their voices be heard. And for so long in this district, in Astoria, one of the most rapidly gentrifying districts in New York City, we have had people be priced out by housing prices. We've had people be pushed out by NYPD surveillance. We have had all sorts of methods and means of pressure to change this neighborhood and make it one that exists for greater profit accumulation, for big financial and speculative capital. And this is the year that we say no. And I'm a housing counselor. I'm so proud of being a part of this slate. And I'm so proud to be, like all of us here, and sadly the only person in my race who rejects money from real estate dollars, who rejects corporate money, who rejects special interest money. Because I think that we know that you are accountable to your donors. And what's so exciting for me is I'm on this call, and I'm on this call with all my donors, because these are all the people who fund these kinds of campaigns.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Farah.
So it just makes sense at this time. You know, I am a nurse. But before I became a nurse, I was an Uber driver. I cleaned people's toilets. I worked in education, and all these different occupations none of them have helped me get to where I needed to get to. At the end of the day, as a working person, the cards are stacked up against me. 44% of my district is rent burden. That means that they're paying well over a third of their salary into rent. And so when you say, you know, we're shutting down the city, you're directly impacting people. And as I said, housing is healthcare. To evict somebody right now means that you're exposing them to a very serious disease. And so I want to echo what Zohran is saying. Like, I have an incumbent that, you know, keeps saying, you know, it'll come in time. But when is that time? Well, I say the time is now. The time is now. We see that we are right for it. And it takes a strong leader and not a follower to make sure that the issues of the working people take forefront. And it's not simply enough to just sign on. We need champions. And I am so proud to be on the call right now with Jabari, Marcela, Stamlis, and Zohran, because we are true activists, organizers that are taking our fight all the way to Albany and Washington, D.C., because there's simply nothing else to do. Nothing else for us to do but to make sure that our communities get what they deserve, and they want it now, period.
I love talking to all of you. Stamlis, next. You're next. In this moment, what is the message that we need to get out to people, and that you'd like to get out about your campaign and about DSA policy in general?
No, I agree with everything that my colleagues said on the slate. I'm honored to run on a slate with them. We, you know, organize together, we build each other up, because as a democratic socialist running in a capitalistic system, you don't get that positive reinforcement, right, about the vision, about the theory of change. So working with all people on the slate and with DSA in general, it's been incredibly humbling and empowering in this journey. So I just wanted to say that. And again, you know, I'm running in a congressional district that is experiencing market forces, very high levels of gentrification and displacement. And people are fearful of being homeless, of not being able to have enough money to provide for their families. You know, they're suffering with asthma, with respiratory illnesses. And people understand that there is a corruptive force with big money in politics. I'm running in a race right now. It has like 15 people in it. Half the people that are running are corporate Democrats to the core. We have one person who wears a cowboy hat, who's anti-choice, who's anti-LGBTQIA, who's really a Republican in Democratic clothing. And then we have corporate Democrats that call themselves progressives, but do the same things that Ruben Diaz Sr. does, which is, you know, taking money from cops, taking money from real estate developers. We have people in this race that call themselves progressives that are taking money from racists that have said, you know, horrendous things about Black women and statements about the KKK that refuse to return the money. You know, we have people that are beholden to donors, to the corporations, to the capitalistic corporate class. So these are the people that are vying to represent the bluest district in America, but unfortunately the one that's heavily dominated by Tammany Hall machine style politics. So as a progressive community, as a movement space, we need to stand strong. We need to stand up for the Bronx, like the Democratic Socialists of America have done for the Bronx, because DSA's mission and values embodies everything that the South Bronx represents. because we want to fight against worker exploitation. We want to center our communities. We want to fight against racial injustice. We want to fight against jail building. So all these corporate Democrats voted for jails, for $11 billion to be invested in 4 new jails in the community, instead of defunding that situation so that we can get services to end the root causes of poverty. And that's what's at stake in the 15th congressional district. So, I'm happy to say that, we're leading with individual donations out of anybody in this race. We're completely people funded. And also my colleagues here have helped fund our campaign as well. And I'm deeply grateful. So this is what's at stake in the poorest congressional district in America. So if you're watching this, go to lopezforthepeople.com. Phone bank for everybody on this slate as well, because we're all fighting the good fight. We're all trying to create change in the community. We're all embracing transformative politics. And that's the future of America. So I just want to end it with that. And thank you so much for having me on your show.
Thank you. And thank you for all the work you are doing to bring justice to your communities with the slate of policies that you are going to represent. Marcela, your thoughts.
Yeah, so my name is Marcela MITYNES, and I'm running for the 51st State Assembly District. We have one of the lowest voter turnouts, and it's because I'm, part of the issue is I'm trying to unseat a 23-year incumbent.
Who is it? Let's name names.
His name is Felix Ortiz.
Oh, good. Here's my money. Here, take my wallet, please. Just so you know, all of your information is on the screen right now, so people can go. But it's good. Yeah, we'll give it all at the end. Go ahead.
So I'm trying to unseat a 23-year incumbent and working with folks in my community who we have one of the lowest voter turnouts. I think it's really important to have our elected officials have lived experiences when they're making decisions that are going to impact our communities for generations. And particularly with me, when I got displaced out of the home that I shared with my family for over 30 years, I had a choice. I had a choice to just move on, or I had a choice to really figure out what's happening and try and make some changes. And that's what I did. I joined with my neighbors, and we started working at wanting to change and strengthen the rent laws. And it took a long time, but I think that the important thing is to understand how empowered people are with knowledge, and when you give them tools to be leaders, the changes that we can actually make, and wanting to bring those changes at the state level with my community, and wanting to change the way government works. And what we're trying to do is not just win this election, but really build a grassroots space that's going to take the power out of Albany and bring it back to the people. And at the end of the day, that's what the DSA values are, right? That we're all equal. We all share in ownership. We all share in decision making, and therefore we all reap the benefits.
Marcela, thank you so much, and thank you to all of you for being here on the program today. I envision you all being in, and what a better world we're about to have. So thank you so much for being on the program. We've been speaking with a slate of Democrat candidates who have been endorsed by the DSA here, the Democratic Socialists of America, here in New York State. You can find them all here. We have Sam has Congress for U.S. New York Congress. U.S. Congress in New York 15th. Twitter handle SAMELYSLOPEZ. We have also been speaking with Zohran Kwame Mamdani. He is running for New York State Assembly. His Twitter, ZOHRANKMAMDANI. Marcela MITYNES, candidate for New York State Assembly as well. Marcela for New York, great Twitter handle. That's a good one. MARCELA Marcela for New York. Jabari Briesport is candidate for New York State Senate. The Twitter there is JABARIBRISPORT. Go to those Twitter handles, find out where to get to the people, and send money, even if you're not, because, obviously, we're all in this fight together. We're all working together. to bring policies starting at the local level and affecting the national level, the national discourse. So thank you all for the work that you're doing in running. I know it can be thankless, but just the way you're speaking about the issues can change the dialogue. So thank you so much for coming on this program and helping.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Can I plug Farrah's Twitter too?
Why y'all plug each other? Oh, Farrah, thank God. Oh, yeah. Okay, how did I miss that? Farrah is a candidate for New York State Assembly, PHARA, the number 4, Assembly, ASSEMBLY, another good Twitter handle. Thank you. I like how we're all in this together as a team. All right, we'll see you again. Good luck. We'll be following your races.
Julianna.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good luck, everybody.
Good luck, everybody.
Good luck.
Stay strong.
Hi. Thank you.
If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. We bring you progressive movement makers, progressive human beings, thought leaders, all kinds of great people every day, pretty much, of the week. So subscribe there. You can follow me. I'm Julianna FORLANO. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I'm everywhere. If you're watching us on ACT.TV's Facebook page, thank you very much for watching. Thanks for sharing the stream. And we will see you on Monday when we have a slate, when we'll start our slate of interesting guests for next week. I'm Julianna FORLANO again. Have a great weekend on Facebook. And if you want a little more, come over to Twitch. It's twitch.tv/act.tv. See you there.